what I bring to the industry from a dressage training standpoint is extremely critical, as we're starting to see more and more horses at the higher levels not be performing as well as we think. Like, they're actually horses that, are in pain, horses that are in a constant state of stress. And what I'm seeing in my work, a lot of riders who have been riding for a really long time have never felt a horse be a willing partner. So when they come to me and I'm able to demonstrate and translate that feeling to them, they love horses even more because they get to feel a connection that is sacrificed for the sake of a maneuver, for the sake of moving fast, for the sake of being on a shorter timeline. There's a lot of value in being able to facilitate a connection with horse and rider that allows for riders at all different levels to experience a willing partner with self-carriage. And I'm excited to be able to continue to increase access to that level of riding, that level of partnership, and to support horses and being much more balanced, much more graceful, much more empowered in their movement. Balance is a key part of my work, and it's not teaching horses how to balance, because horses know how to balance themselves, but supporting horses to balance as we are riding and as we are doing something. And so I'm always asking my question, for what sake is the balance? The balance cannot be, controlled or for the sake of controlling or for the sake of restraining the horse's power, but balance is a tool that we use to go and to experience the power, to keep the power of the horse unleashed and wild, but balanced enough that we can experience it safely and in partnership. How you relate and embody the gift of horsemanship is a reflection of your character. Are we always willing to learn? Can we hear when a horse is speaking or expressing ourselves? Do you listen when the horse is expressing themselves? Like, how do you respond? What does listening look like when your horse is telling you something? Is your horse allowed to tell you something? Do you know what pain looks like in a horse? Do you know what pain looks like in a horse's eyes? Do you know what pain looks like in a horse's walk and their trot and their canter? Do you know what pain looks like when a horse, or feels like when you're riding a horse that's in pain? And are you reading their eyes? Like, are you able to see a different emotion in a horse's face? We have to be willing to understand the ways that they do communicate, and not just assume because they can't say it that there's not anything to listen to. Using horses as a prop for unchecked egos of domination is dishonorable to their wisdom. How you relate and embody the gift of horsemanship is a reflection of your character. Well, he needs more wins in general because he's just so young. He's like, we're not doing anything serious. Like, and I was saying earlier, like, I've handled him since he was weaned, So it's like, there's no real anxieties where I have to like challenge him to unlearn or challenge him to think differently. It's like just letting him think because he already trusts me. We already have a relationship. So at this stage, he always needs to win. And with horses mostly in general, we're always leaning towards winning. Like, the horse needs to have a winning experience. If anybody needs to lose, it needs to be us. For the sake of the horse's like confidence and just like willingness to do the work. That's how I always feel. So like, if that means, we had good moments, or I have to figure out what good moments I take as my wins and which ones I take as a loss, then that's fine. But then in situations like with Canterbury, who letting him win is allowing him to do things that are counterproductive to his own well-being. So it's like, there are moments where, no, I'm not going to give in to you tucking your nose in, because that's the exact opposite of what you need to be doing to support your own well-being. So I'm challenging you to not do that. Now, I still have to challenge him a little bit so that I challenge him and then he wins, but I'm never trying to win over the horse. Like, I'm never trying to fight the horse and me come out with the W. That's not what I work with horses. But I do think there are a lot of, that's a lot of the baseline understanding for a lot of horsemanship is, yeah, you win. The horse respects you because you won, and you made the horse, think there was no other option than for it to lose. But in reality, I want us to win together. You know, like me winning is you won, I won, and we're both happy. Yeah, that's a good question though. But so the challenge from the way I am challenging him, because I still am challenging him, is like standing here, one is a challenge. Or when I'm asking for a downward transition, he wants to stop. We're not gonna stop, we're gonna keep walking and going forward. So those subtle things where it's like below threshold, challenging his ability to learn and handle stress, but not pushing him past his sympathetic nervous system or sympathetic side of learning brain to the point where he's so anxious and worried that he can't process. Good boy. But eventually, this guy is gonna be, that's why I'm hoping he gonna like, get tall, please. Because I'm gonna be able to one-handed him with like a snaffle and do everything I wanna do with him. Just because of how much I can already do with him without a bit. Without being critical of our relationship, then we're doing ourselves a disservice by not fully embracing the medicine that the horse has to offer us. So I think there has to always be a willingness to learn, a willingness to change, and a willingness to understand horses in a way that's not just being able to do a thing or have a horse or have access to a horse or sit on a horse or, there's just so much more that goes into what horses can teach us and like what we can learn and benefit from besides just using them as, something to support our egos. There's a lot of domination and control and like toxicity and aggression just lives in our world in general. And so these people who are not checking that in their bodies before they even come to horses get to come to horses and use horses to prop up already unchecked egos because horses can only communicate in a certain amount of ways. And eventually a horse is going to always choose the path of least resistance. And so if the path of least resistance is completely shutting down and being submissive and not challenging and, just quieting themselves and living in a constant state of learned helplessness, then that's what they're going to choose. So people think that they're doing really good work or they have a horse that is obedient, but obedience does not equal honor. Obedience does not equal empowerment. And so I have horses that know that they can choose, don't get caught by everybody, or will decide if they want to get caught by me. I work really hard to preserve their ability to say no and like their right to say no and to express themselves so that I never create a relationship with anything in my life, but particularly my horses, that the path of least resistance is learned helplessness and submission and disempowerment. Being in the rural South, the conservative rural South, in an era where fascism and radical conservative politics is something to be proud of, it's almost like how dare I relate to horses in this way, but how dare I stake a claim in this industry at a time where every angle I look, every experience I have is almost telling me I don't deserve it, or I shouldn't be doing it, or I'm in the wrong place to be doing it, or the right people haven't told me that I should be doing it. So I feel like just me being in the industry, me relating to horses in itself, in the way that I do as an artist, is definitely a protest. And I think people see that, and it's disrupting, and it challenges people, and it makes people uncomfortable. And that's for them to live with and not me.